Yo, what's good everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be breaking down this Thursday night Draftkings Showdown slate between the Miami Dolphins and the Cincinnati Bengals. This should be one of the better Thursday night games we get all year long. And like always, I'm going to go through a couple of my favorite captain plays, dive into some of my favorite flex plays, and then to wrap up the video, we'll take a look at some stats and snaps for players on both teams. With that being said, let's dive into my spreadsheet here. And as always, we're going to kick things off here in the spreadsheet in the top left-hand corner with those Vegas odds. I am a bit surprised to see the Bengals sitting at minus 200 on the money line. I think you're getting some nice value there on Miami at plus 170. And then the Bengals are 4-point favorites here as well with an over-under of 47 points. And as always with these showdown videos, I'm going to have those 6 stats listed behind me from 2021. You can kind of use that as a reference point as I'm going through these spreadsheets. And to give you a better view of those 6 stats, let me pop on over to another spreadsheet here. Feel free to pause the video and read through those or even take a screenshot. Now before we dive into some of my favorite plays here, everyone, I just want to quickly let you know that I do have a Discord channel as well that is completely free to join. Link in the description below. With that being said, let's dive into some of my favorite plays here, kicking it off with the captains. And for those of you who are new to this channel or at least new to this video, what I like to do is highlight a captain from both sides of this game. Now on the Miami side of things here, I like Tyreek Hill, 100% okay going Jalen Waddle here. You can maybe even mix in Tua, but if Tua's going to have a big game, more than likely one of those wide receivers will have a big game as well. I like Tyreek Hill in all showdowns and all tournament lineups. He's arguably the most dangerous player in the NFL due to his game-breaking speed. He can score from anywhere on the field at any given time. We saw him do that in Week 2 against the Baltimore Ravens and several times in the past. And even with a down game last week, Tyreek Hill is still 3rd in the NFL in receiving yards and 6th in receptions. That's pretty damn good considering he only had 4 targets and 2 receptions just last week. Plus, there's a little extra incentive here going up against cornerback Eli Apple. If you guys remember, the Bengals knocked off the Chiefs in the playoffs last year, and Eli Apple had some things to say about Tyreek Hill after that game. It looks like the Cheetah is ready to roll here on Thursday night, and I like him in the captain spot for me. And then on the Bengals side of things here, I like Joe Mixon, but again, 100% okay going Jamar Chase here, T. Higgins even. There's probably a better case to be made for Joe Burrow. He likes to spread the ball out a little bit more than Tua does, so you could put him in the captain spot as well, but I foresee myself going with one of these skill position players. Joe Mixon, with all the attention that's on the quarterbacks and wide receivers in this game, seems to be flying under the radar just a little bit. So I like using him in the captain spot as kind of a leverage play off of T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, who seem to be a lot more popular here heading into Thursday night. Unfortunately, as I record here on Wednesday, the current ownership projections aren't out yet from FTN, but as soon as those come out, I'll be taking a look at those. If for some reason Joe Mixon is super popular in the captain spot, we could look to pivot to one of those wide receivers, but I don't think that's going to be the case. And look, Mixon hasn't been super efficient here in the first 3 weeks of the 2022 season, but the volume and opportunity has definitely been there. He's 3rd in the NFL in rush attempts, and he leads all running backs in routes run, and I definitely like that. Now, before we dive into some of my favorite flex plays here, just want to take a quick minute to talk about one of the sponsors on this channel, Lucra. If you have not downloaded Lucra, it is completely free to get started. I'm actually going to throw a QR code up on the screen here right now. You can scan this with your phone. It's going to download the app, and once it does that, it's going to give you my referral code, which is GRIFF, GRIFF, and give you $25 in free play money. Now, you can use that free play money to compete against anybody, friends, family, or someone random, and if you win those contests, you'll actually see that free play money convert to real cash. So if you win enough of your contests with that free play money, you might legit never have to deposit a single dollar on Lucra. You can just build a bankroll from there. So again, I'll throw that QR code up on the screen one more time. You can scan this with your phone here. It'll download the app, include my referral code GRIFF, GRIFF, and give you that $25 and free play money. All right, now hopping into these flex plays here. First guy I got is Ja'Marr Chase of the Cincinnati Bengals. As I mentioned earlier, definitely a captain consideration as well, and I probably don't need to convince anybody to play this guy. He's one of the most explosive wide receivers in the NFL and one of the most explosive players across the entire league, and volume is never an issue for him either. He's actually tied for first across the entire NFL right now with 35 targets, and he's third in the league in red zone targets with 8. Now, he's also the most expensive player on this showdown slate, so he likely will need to score a touchdown in order to meet value. But the nice thing is this guy's ceiling is... it's hard to say it's the best on this slate because we got Tyreek Hill, but he's a 1B to Tyreek's 1A when it comes to that ceiling. Now, I certainly don't want to overlook the ceiling that Jalen Waddle offers either, because this guy scored 43 DraftKings points just back in week 2 when Tua had 43 himself and Tyreek Hill had 45. Those three just went absolutely bonkers against the Baltimore Ravens. So yes, Waddle's definitely a captain consideration as well. He's actually second in the NFL right now with 342 receiving yards and tied for second with 3 receiving touchdowns. The upside has been great through 3 weeks, and he's an explosive player just like Ja'Marr Chase and Tyreek Hill. In fact, he has a play of at least 42 yards in all 3 games this year, hitting a play of 42, 45, and 59 yards throughout the first 3 weeks here. And I suspect that Tyreek Hill and him are going to have their day with these cornerbacks for the Cincinnati Bengals. I am not scared of either one of those guys, and honestly, I'm not really scared of any cornerback when these two are on the field. They're so explosive, they can legit score from anywhere at any given time. I then got both quarterbacks listed here on the spreadsheet, and look, if you're going to be rostering one of those wide receivers in the captain spot, it just makes sense to correlate them with their quarterback, and both these guys are affordable enough to where you could actually play them in the same lineup with one of their wide receivers or tight ends. What I'll say here about Joe Burrow is he started to find his groove just a little bit last week against the New York Jets, threw 3 touchdowns in that game, but still left a lot on the field. This Cincinnati offense missed a lot of plays to where they could have ran up the score against the Jets. But a nice little confidence booster for Joe Burrow, who didn't look great in the first 2 weeks. As he stands here today, he's currently 6th in the NFL in pass attempts and 8th in the NFL in red zone pass attempts. So again, the volume has definitely not been an issue for the passing offense as a whole for Cincinnati. And then for Tua, actually no quarterback has been more efficient throwing the deep ball this year. Leads the entire league with damn near a 65% completion rate on throws 15 plus yards down the field. He's also second in the league with the best quarterback rating and is tied for 3rd in touchdown passes with 8. Again, both these guys very affordable, and it just makes sense to play them if you're going to be using one of those wide receivers in the captain spot. And then another wide receiver I think we can consider in the captain spot is T. Higgins of the Cincinnati Bengals, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he's one of the most popular, if not the most popular captain on this Thursday night showdown due to how cheap he is here at $8,200. Now, this is his flex price here, but just look at the difference in pricing between him and Ja'Marr Chase. I think a lot of people are going to resort to Higgins because of that, but their stats really aren't all that different over the past 20 games. And shout out to Ian Harditz over at PFF who put this out on the Twitter sphere, but look, I put those off in the notes. Chase has 158 targets, 105 receptions, 1,700 receiving yards, and 13 touchdowns, compared to Higgins, who has 152 targets, 103 receptions, 1,600 receiving yards if we're rounding up, and 9 touchdowns. Really the biggest difference there is the touchdowns. Ja'Marr Chase has 4 more touchdowns compared to T. Higgins. Otherwise, the stats really aren't all that different, but the pricing here for Thursday night is significantly different. Next is Hayden Hurst there of the Cincinnati Bengals. Tight end was banged up a little bit in week 3, but prior to that, in the first 2 weeks, he was seeing around a 17% target share and running a route on about 82% of Joe Burrow's dropbacks. That's some really nice volume for a guy priced at $5,400, and I think part of the reason he only played about 38% of the snaps in week 3 was due to his groin injury. It was announced early in the week, so him not playing much in week 3 doesn't really surprise me, especially on a short week when Cincinnati knew they had to play on Thursday. So yes, his injury is something we need to keep an eye on, but even if he gets back to, let's say, a 15% target share, running around on 70% of his dropbacks, I don't mind Hayden Hurst here at $5,400. Now, some of you might be wondering what I think about Tyler Boyd. Considering it's a showdown, I definitely think he's an option, but here's why I don't like him. He's seen only an 11% target share throughout the first 3 weeks of the season. And yes, I know he scored that long touchdown last week, but outside of that, not really seeing a lot of volume go his way. Hayden Hurst has had more volume go his way throughout the first 3 weeks, and he only played 38% of the snaps in week 3. With that being said, Tyler Boyd does have arguably the best matchup of all these wide receivers for Cincinnati, going in the slot against Nick Needham, who Isaiah McKenzie of the Buffalo Bills played pretty well against last week, to say the least. So yeah, I think Boyd is fine here, considering it's a showdown. But if it were a main slate, I'd probably be avoiding it, considering his target share has been so low. Now, folks, if you could take 10 seconds to like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. I got a lot of football content coming out this year, and for those of you who play NHL DFS or do some NHL betting, I'll have a lot of content around that this year as well. But I appreciate every single one of you for tuning into these videos. Now let's get back into this spreadsheet. I then got Raheem Mostert there of the Miami Dolphins, and yes, the running back situation right now for Miami is very gross. It's basically a running back committee between him and Chase Edmonds, and Chase Edmonds did score 2 rushing touchdowns last week, which is, I think, going to attract a lot of people to roster him over Mostert. But I don't know if that should be the case. Mostert has actually played more snaps and seen more carries in 2 consecutive games, albeit a very small sample size and the difference in volume isn't massive. He is getting more opportunity, so I don't mind him here at $4,400. I might just avoid the running back situation as a whole, but I did want to talk about it here for Miami. One of these guys very well could score a touchdown. They've kind of been going back and forth each week, so I guess this week I'm going to put my money on Mostert if one of these running backs for Miami finds the end zone. I then got Evan McPherson here, kicker of the Cincinnati Bengals, who's actually tied for first in the NFL right now with 9 field goal attempts. He's converted on 7 of those and actually had one hit from 59 yards out. The kid absolutely has a leg on him, and when you can hit from 50 yards out, you can rack up some solid Draftkings points. We saw him do that all of last year. Now, I actually think that both of the kickers are in play here on Thursday night, but I tend to lean towards McPherson at the cheaper price tag. And then a dart throw, or kind of a punt play, if you will, is Durham Smythe of the Miami Dolphins. I think we can consider Mike Gesicki here, but he's not really getting involved with this offense right now, playing less than 50% of the offensive snaps, and although he did score a touchdown back in week 2, the other 2 weeks have been pretty grim for him. Whereas Smythe is playing about 60% of the offensive snaps, and although he is more of a blocking tight end, he's still seen 6 targets through 3 games. More importantly, 2 of those targets have come in the red zone. So yeah, you probably need him to score a touchdown to really set your lineup apart from others playing tournaments, but I guess that's in the realm of possibilities, and the Bengals haven't necessarily been great against tight ends, allowing the 11th most points to the position. And then to wrap up this video here, we're going to take a look at the snap counts from week 3 for both of these teams to give you an idea of who was on the field and who's not really playing all that much. You know, I kind of talked about a few of these guys here in today's video, but I think there's one more that really sticks out to me outside of Durham Smythe as a dart throw. That's going to be Trent Sherfield here. Played 27 of the 43 snaps and ran a route on 17 of 22 dropbacks. I don't mind that at all. Obviously, he only had 1 target in that game, so not very good there, but needless to say, he is on the field, and that's why we're looking at these snap counts here. And then we got the Bengals snap count here from week 3, and I think the thing that's going to stick out the most to people is Samaje Perine. He ran 7 routes in that game and had 9 carries after Joe Mixon did get a little bit banged up. But again, I think it's a similar situation to Hayden Hurst as I talked earlier. Cincinnati knew they were going to be on a short week here, had a really nice lead against the Jets. There's no reason to force your starters into playing when you pretty much have the game locked up. I think Mixon is going to get back to his normal workload here on this Thursday night game, but I think a lot of people are going to look at Perine and probably roster him more than he should be. That's not to say he won't be on the field, because he will be at times, but I don't think he's going to get 9 carries in this game, to say the least. All right, everyone, that is going to wrap up this video here for today. As always, thank y'all for taking the time out of your day to watch the content here on this channel. If you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. Let's have ourselves a great day here, folks. Let's enjoy this Thursday night showdown, win a little money as well. I'm out of here.